In 2121, the end of the world sale began, and the theory of the end of the world began to spread throughout the world. The secrets of the Maya people were reinterpreted and made public. In the Third World War, the biological gene war, and the human war were no longer raging, but silently. Decades of preparation were waiting for that outbreak, and the Chinese collective lost its reproductive function. If fertility had to purchase special drugs, only the working class and the wealthy could have children. The end of the world was not only a natural disaster, but also a man-made disaster. Let's watch the protagonist Lin Feng's alternative survival. Chapter 1. Fraud. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Young man, Bridge Bean Sack, wait a moment. A young man who had just emerged from an internet cafe was dazed, with a hint of confusion on his face, as if he was full of anxiety about the future. My eyes were covered in bloodshot, which must have been caused by staying up late for a long time, playing games or reading novels. A thin plaid shirt on the upper body, a cotton jacket on the outside, jeans on the lower body, and a 26-year-old man with a shapely beard. This habit of being unkempt makes people feel like an uncle in their 30s and 40s. Upon hearing someone call him, I turned around and saw an old man who was even more disheveled than him, like a beggar. You call me? Lin Feng asked, pointing his right hand at his nose. Young man, I see that you have a unique skeleton and must be a legendary martial arts practitioner. Would you be willing to be my chief disciple? Lin Feng's face was bewildered and he didn't know how to answer this silent question and answer. If you don't speak, you agree. I am about to ascend to the spiritual realm, and there is no one to inherit my unique skills behind me. Finally, someone will inherit my mantle. I am very pleased and excited. The scruffy old man, wearing a thick cotton jacket picked up from the garbage dump, exudes a commanding demeanor as he tells Lin Feng about the world. Lin Feng lowered his eyes and squinted, looking at the old man with an idiot-like expression. He used his right hand to touch the old man's forehead, then touched his own forehead, turned around and left, muttering to himself, I don't have a fever. The old man was obviously mistaken for a lunatic. He quickly grabbed Lin Feng's sleeve and said seriously, little friend, the spiritual revival is coming. You must believe it. Have you noticed it? Nowadays, more and more people with infertility are expanding year by year. If you want to have a child, you need to buy special drugs, and if you want to have a child, you also need to sign an agreement. I am from a different world and cannot bear the extinction of the Chinese nation. Therefore, I want to entrust this great responsibility to you. The old man looked righteous and spoke to Lin Feng in a righteous and upright manner. Lin Feng finally opened his sharp eyes because he was also informed by relevant departments that eligible young people in marriage and childbirth must sign a labor contract in order to purchase special drugs. The continuation of the entire Chinese race has now reached a critical moment. If you do not sign, no specific genetic drugs will be given, and the country will impose a fertility tax. If you do not give birth, it will be a burden on the country, and you may be sent to Siberia. Due to a lack of population, the kingdom of Raksha has successfully destroyed the country, and Siberia has become a land of hardship. However, there are resources that need to be mined there, and a childless young man who does not pay a birth tax will be exiled here as a minor. Many young people in the surrounding area have found that there is indeed a shortage, and they have reached the age of being urged to have children. After the age of 26, they have to pay a maternity tax of 380 yuan per month. However, he himself is a useless college student who has studied business management, and his family does not have a business management system. When he goes out, he has to be managed, and when he goes out to do sales, his heart is not black. In the end, he becomes an unemployed young man who stays at home and grows old. Old man, do you mean you have a way to help me solve the problem of exemption from maternity tax? Lin Feng's eyes were fiery. What do you think, young man? The Chinese people are about to be wiped out, and you are still trying to get a tax of 380 yuan. I don't have it, but I have a moonlight treasure box that travels through time and space. It is sold directly by the manufacturer and has after-sales support. It cannot be crossed, and free maintenance is required, but you need to pay a plus membership fee. It can be repaired unlimited within a year. Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of old blood and cursed loudly, "Consort, if you're not fake, I won't say. What membership fee do you still have? I'll ask you, can you use it now, can you wear it with me? It's really troublesome to save on after-sales service." The old man quickly waved his hand and said, "Only one person can travel through time and space at a time. Carrying more will overload you. I am about to ascend to the spiritual realm, how can I be with you? How can you manage the after-sales service even if you soar to the spiritual realm? It's obvious that you're mentally disabled, neurotic, and have delusions. Don't waste this handsome guy's time, get out of here." The old man once again grabbed Lin Feng's bitter mouth and said to himself, "Young man, you misunderstood. This moonlight treasure box needs to be opened on the day of the end of 2121, when the rift between heaven and earth will open before it can be used. I am the leader of the spirit cloud mountain in the other world, and this is my leader token. I will give it to you as a gift." The original price of this moonlight treasure box was 998, but now it's only 99, plus 1 token. With such a generous subsidy, I haven't used it for a long time. Huh, 998, why are you so familiar with this routine? Since you want to soar to the spiritual realm, why do you even need money? Also, what you're talking about is all his empty promises. If you buy LZ, it's a big fool's fork. After sales are in the spiritual cloud mountain of the other world, why don't you say you're in the Western paradise? It's really strange to see you carrying goods like this at noon. Lin Feng shook off the old man and strode away. "Young man. This is my QR code. If you believe it, remember to transfer the money to me." Tang Sheng and his disciples went to the west to retrieve the scriptures. It's not just that they confessed to the purple gold bowl. I need to settle the cause and effect. Trust me to ensure safety. The end of the world will come in 7 days, so you need to be more careful. After speaking, Lin Feng turned back and saw a QR code on the ground. The old man disappeared, which was too strange. The apocalypse. Who would believe it? My apocalypse is the future fertility tax, and it would be a crime for his sister not to have children. Lin Feng did not pay attention to the QR code on the ground, but the QR code on the ground disappeared silently. On December 25, 2120, it was Christmas, 6 days before the end of the world, and the entire Jiangnan city was still brightly lit and bustling with traffic. Who would care about that end of the world? Suddenly, as Lin Feng was undressing in bed, he noticed that there was actually that QR code on the bed. It was strange that he hadn't picked it up, so how could this thing follow him? With nothing to do and a desire to expose the scam, I added a QR code on my phone and soon passed, with a coordinate sent inside. Lin Feng opened the map, which marked a mountain about 12 kilometers away from his home. The old man also sent another text. "Little friend, I'm about to soar. If you transfer 99 yuan, someone will tell you the password when you arrive at that place." With a disdainful smile, Lin Feng thought to himself, "Anyway, it's boring. The unemployed youth are afraid of you being a bird, so go straight and see what medicine you sell in your gourd. This kind of feudal superstition, the teacher has told us since childhood to firmly resist feudal superstition and even fly. I see you are flying to the paradise." The next day, while following the navigation, Lin Feng drove an electric motorcycle. Although it was cold, he also found that place. This was a hidden cave, very secretive, but easy to find. The cave was called a hidden cave, as if afraid that people wouldn't find it. He even installed a password lock on the door, and there was a local dog lying beside the door. As soon as Lin Feng walked over, he saw a stray dog barking. This stray-haired dog is truly ugly. I'm afraid I won't be able to see such a big character, but unfortunately there's no password. Lin Feng scratched his head helplessly as he looked at the password lock. At this moment, the miscellaneous furry dog bit into its dog basin from the ground and walked to Lin Feng's side. Its fluffy dog paws were pulling on Lin Feng's thigh, and Lin Feng lowered his head to see that the ugly dog was infuriated. What is the reason? Lin Feng lowered his head and saw that there was actually a payment code on the bottom of this dog days bowl, and there was also a line of characters for transferring funds and sending codes. Lin Feng, as an anti-fraud fighter, can't help but bleed. 99 is 99. Biting his teeth, he went to pay, but the payment prompt showed that the balance was insufficient. Lin Feng changed several more bank cards, but they were not enough. He transferred less than 20 yuan from 5 cards. The mixed-haired dog was speechless, with its head drooping and bored. Lin Feng felt a blatant insult and suddenly thought of what the old man had said about the end of the world. Ma Di, take a gamble. Take out a credit card loan of 70,000 yuan, facial recognition, and the system prompts that the loan is unemployed and has no financial repayment ability, making it impossible to apply. Lin Feng reluctantly lowered his head and couldn't even get a loan without a job, so he reduced the loan amount to only 10,000 yuan. The process of facial recognition and electronic signature was finally successful, and as for the repayment, Lin Feng bet on the hypothesis of the end of the world. Scan the code and give it to the dog. The mixed-haired dog uses its paws to scrape the ground, and after a few paws, it takes out a stone from its mouth and hands it to Lin Feng. Without hesitation, Lin Feng took out a stone from the dog's mouth, engraved with a string of numbers, January 1st, 2121. Lin Feng estimated it to be a password, so he walked to the password lock and entered it. Sure enough, the door opened and the cave was pitch black. After opening it for 2 or 3 seconds, the lights came on, and a quaint treasure box was placed on a stone table in the middle. When Lin Feng was about to take this thing away, the old man's phantom suddenly appeared. "Huh, young man, we are meeting again. At this point, I have already left this interface. The object in front of you is the Moonlight Treasure Box, which is said to have emerged from a legendary heavenly emperor's pursuit of an unforgettable love. Every night when the moon is full, you can open the treasure box to travel through different worlds and time. Remember, the fate of the Chinese people is entrusted to you by me." Upon hearing the old man's voice, Lin Feng felt speechless. The fraudster was even willing to use a holographic projection to repay the Chinese people. He was pitiful and had not even found his own 380 yuan, let alone the 10,000 yuan loan. When it comes to loans, Lin Feng has a melancholic expression on his face. If it is true, then he will secretly mortgage his property certificate for a loan, which will be exposed. By the end of the day, he will repay his grandmother's leg. This house is the only thing his father left for him, and he will have to rely on the rent of a 4-story courtyard house every month to make ends meet. He also needs to repay a loan of 500,000 yuan, with a monthly equal principal and interest repayment of over 4,000 yuan. If it weren't for the end of the world, what would Lin Feng do with this loan? His family is a mess, he's being urged to get married, and he's being looked down upon by his relatives. Can you ask which woman wants to find him? Finding him means paying off the mortgage, no one takes care of the children, and no one cooks. Of course, Lin Feng does not complain, because seeking benefits and avoiding harm is due to human nature, who makes their own family background not good. Chapter 2. Leader. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 3. Before the end of the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Circle Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Leakage of Wealth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Undercurrent surging. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Revealing old accounts. You are listening at novel full.audio. On January 15, 2121, with clear weather, the number of cases of influenza and freezing death in Jiangnan City gradually increased, and the whole country entered a state of emergency. Armed police, emergency mobilization, and transportation of supplies were carried out nationwide, and Jiangnan City barely maintained for a period of time. Lin Feng lay leisurely by the bedside reading a novel, working in the community. He didn't want to care about who he liked to go to. But if you don't cause trouble, what others still want to do to you is all caused by material possessions. On that day, my aunt, wearing a thick down jacket, started knocking on the door of Lin Feng's house early. Lin Feng saw through his cat's eye that it was actually his aunt and uncle. He didn't open the door and shouted, "Aunt, I'm so cold. If you have something to say, I'm so cold I don't want to move." "Okay, I'll tell you over the phone." After dialing the phone, the plump aunt lay under her bed and smiled at Lin Feng, saying, "Hello. Auntie, what's wrong?" "Feng Wazi, there's something that Auntie wants to discuss with you." "You said." "At first, your grandfather saw that you were pitiful, so he didn't say he wanted you to use the land, and it couldn't be transferred either. I discussed it with your second uncle's family and agreed that we should reconsider the matter of this land." The news on the phone made Lin Feng's head buzz. "Auntie, this is the salary my grandfather used to pay for my father. Is it appropriate to discuss something that everyone agrees on?" Lin Feng's voice emitted a cold and penetrating aura. "Feng Wazi, don't get too excited either. First of all, we are law-abiding citizens and act according to the law. Anyway, my father-in-law and your father made a verbal agreement, and we can't say anything about it. Besides, the current land certificate for the land is still your grandfather's name. If you give it to you, I'll give it to you. The market price of the land doesn't need me to say anything. Anyway, if you pay the rent for the land, we won't say anything. Otherwise, you can move your current house out of this land or sell it to us. Although it may be a bit of a loss, for the sake of relatives, we won't make it difficult for you. My second uncle has never been in charge of the house, which must have been agreed upon by my second aunt. My eldest uncle has always had a grudge against Lin Feng's father for building a house, and now he just feels embarrassed to speak up. This villain has become their aunt, and the current harsh environment has accelerated their thinking. Lin Feng has supplies, and there has always been smoke coming out from burning coal. Their families are suffering from hunger and cold, which is why they have such thoughts. Auntie, please let me think, after all, I also need time to think." "Okay, I'll give you 2 days to consider, but if you want to delay, my family Chunhua works in the provincial court. When we go there, don't blame my aunt for disregarding the kindness of relatives." Lin Feng suddenly calmed down. Previously, his arms were bulging with veins, and he wanted to kill his aunt. She was a senior teacher herself, and her uncle was a department-level leader. His cousin also worked in the provincial court, and this family was enviable. Usually, their family comes and goes as gifts, and their aunt never looks at Lin Feng directly. Their land was promised by their grandfather, but now their parents are both in trouble due to digging a tunnel. Their uncles and uncles' families have been sued for 3 years for the 1.6 million yuan death compensation, and Lin Feng was only 11 years old at the time. Finally, Lin Feng should have lived with his uncle and second uncle since childhood. Lin Feng's grandmother received 500,000 yuan in compensation, his grandfather received 500,000 yuan, and the remaining 600,000 yuan was jointly managed by his uncle and second uncle as guardians. My grandmother's 500,000 yuan was also intended for Lin Feng, but as she grew older and couldn't manage so much money, she entrusted it to my uncle. At first, my uncle worked every month, but later he cut off contact due to going out to work. And my grandfather used this 500,000 yuan to build a building in the back of his uncle's house, while his own 600,000 yuan was also used for studying, working, and military living expenses. The remaining 200,000 yuan was given by Lin Feng as marriage money after he reached adulthood. 1.6 million yuan, but it was completely divided among these relatives. My second uncle fought with my eldest uncle multiple times for Lin Feng's 200,000 yuan, because my second uncle was raised by my mother. My eldest uncle wanted to buy insurance for Lin Feng with this 200,000 yuan. Anyway, my eldest uncle's family has always wanted to take advantage of the money left by Lin Feng's parents. My eldest and second uncles are legal heirs. If there is a lawsuit, the court still operates, and social order has not stopped the state power organs due to -60 degrees Celsius. Now it's just a prelude to the end of the world, and Lin Feng can see through it. Second uncle doesn't want to have a fight with his uncle now, so he drinks all day to numb himself. I couldn't bear to watch myself feel lonely, so the only time I got angry in my life was because of that 200,000 yuan, which Lin Feng had already used for this house. Lin Feng secretly made up his mind and deliberately brought coal and other materials to the yard, posting on his social media every day to share, eat and drink. Warm stove, various prefabricated dishes, including pickled Chinese cabbage fish, fish-flavored shredded pork, braised eggplant, with different patterns every day. This made the tenants and relatives around her envious, and the aunt curled up under the bed and said to her husband, "Look at your nephew, these days are even more nourishing than us. You're about to move on, the first person to turn a blind eye. I've already done it, but it's up to you, my uncle, to watch from now on." Uncle Zhang Jianhua, a middle-aged man in his 50s, looked impatient and turned to sleep again, but the sound of his stomach couldn't deceive anyone. "Gulu. All right, I can't bear it if you can. Today, you must buy that kid's house with me, most importantly, the supplies." Zhang Jianhua squinted his eyes and clenched his fist, his heart racing as he thought to himself, "Sister, I'm sorry. The world has changed a lot now, and it's your son who doesn't know how to hide his light and hide his hide. He can't blame anyone else." Before long, there was a loud noise coming from Lin Feng's doorstep. Bang bang. Feng Wazi, open the door quickly. Lin Feng slowly woke up and put on his thin autumn pajamas to open the door. "Yo, uncle, auntie, and second auntie, why did you come? Let's go in quickly, it's freezing." Auntie didn't wait for Lin Feng to say, "Please," so she hurriedly entered the long-lost warm room. "Oh, when I say, Feng Wazi, my aunt looks down on you. Look at your little life, you're just missing a wife. You're about to compete with immortals." Auntie-in-law felt the long-lost warmth inside Lin Feng's house, and a fresh and fragrant smell rushed towards her. The few of them unconsciously walked towards Lin Feng's bedroom. Uncle Zhang Jianhua snorted before these two women remembered what they were doing. Firstly, the uncle played the family card and said, "Feng Wazi, did your parents leave early when you were young? Have I ever treated you unfairly in life, your uncle?" Lin Feng shook his head and said, "No, my uncle treats me like his own. I don't think it's as good as you said, but my old Zhang family is stronger than your old Lin family. At least we didn't misuse the compensation for your parents' death. We used it all for your college education and military service, which doesn't cost anything. Don't look at this 600,000 yuan, the prices will also rise. Even so, I'll keep 200,000 yuan for you. Your grandfather doesn't understand the law, how can land be transferred? But we understand. This is a confused account from the past, and now my uncle wants to talk to you about it." Lin Feng is like a child who makes mistakes. After all, his uncle has taught him more since childhood. He didn't refuse or agree, he just said lightly, "Uncle, please tell me, nephew, listen. Okay, that means the land belongs to our Zhang family, but your house cannot be left on this land. So, in order not to let you suffer losses, I will discuss with your second uncle's family to buy your house, so you don't have to be in a difficult situation. Uncle, I'll listen to you." Lin Feng looked like a well-behaved child. Upon seeing Lin Feng so obedient, Zhang Jianhua's previous anxiety disappeared completely. He took advantage of the heat to build the railway. Don't worry, my uncle won't lose you. You are my own nephew, and I have discussed with your second uncle. Our two families have offered 2.8 million yuan to purchase, which will definitely be enough for your construction money, including decoration costs. Okay, that's fine, but I already mortgaged my house to the bank before. The bank assessed it at 4.5 million yuan, but you gave me 2.8 million yuan. How can I repay this loan? Zhang Jianhua suddenly felt his head heat up and didn't know what to say. The originally planned things were all in chaos now. This guy actually mortgaged his house. No wonder he had so much money to buy supplies. Uncle looked disgusted, as if he was looking at his own son, a spendthrift. Have you used up all the money? No, I only used 200,000 yuan, and the rest is on my card. The bank said to withdraw as much as I need. Looking at his uncle's embarrassed appearance, Lin Feng hurriedly said, Uncle, don't worry, I'm your own nephew. I definitely won't sell you at this price, but the property certificate is not in my hands. It's in the bank's hands. I need to repay the loan on the 20th. What do you think I can do? The ball was kicked by his uncle, and Zhang Jianhua licked his lips and said, 4.5 million is 4.5 million. However, you need to keep these supplies. The house is not worth money now, so don't rush to retrieve the property from the bank. We can settle the situation first and then proceed with the operation later. The second aunt stopped working, and she questioned her uncle, his big brother, you can't just agree without discussing. His second aunt, stay ahead in life, Feng Wazi, it would be great if she could agree. This is only the money for the house, and what about the supplies? Do you think you can't buy these things for hundreds of thousands? The key is that you can't buy them even with money. My second aunt's delicate makeup has now become ugly due to anger. Oh my, we are all relatives. Why bother arguing? I understand that buying a house is secondary, mainly because we want to buy goods. My nephew understands. Now, let me repay your kindness, and we will never owe each other again. Chapter 8. Breaking. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Saving People. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10, Saving People 2. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.